Okay, welcome YouTube. We're connecting to Facebook today. Welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about real estate and business COVID part 2. I came to you on Facebook earlier today and I wanted to show you some charts. We're going to pull those up right now. Here we go. I'm just going to get right to it because I believe you're going to see that no matter what we do, we need a different model in this country. We need a different model in California in particular. I'm not entirely positive that we're getting the data that we should be getting, and I believe it's incumbent on our leadership from top to bottom, whether it's the federal government and Trump and the CDC, or it's Gavin Newsom, or it's even, and I have less of a problem in San Diego because at least they're trying to open or tried, but we need a better model, and I'm gonna suggest to you one that worked. I don't know that it can apply, but it's going to blow you away if you didn't see my earlier one today. So let me just clear my screen. There we go. This was me. I'm John McConnin. I'm a real estate attorney and a broker in San Diego. The point of this over time is I want to help people with real estate and help people with business with good decisions. And it's hard to do that right now in a shutdown model. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to get very granular in the business because I've got to improve my business because real estate's lower, and we're going to talk about that in the future. But right now, let me just go back to why we were here. Let me take down this lower third, and let me just get to this. This is daily deaths in Sweden, right? Now, I can scroll up, and if you were concerned about total cases, yes, they had increase in cases. In fact, every country in the world, anytime they have a new incidence on their cumulative chart, it's going to go up. If you've been seeing that chart, it's out of context. Daily new cases. Anders Tegnell said, and I'm going to be comparing this to California and the U.S. in just a second. Anders Tegnell said just a few days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, that they've increased their testing dramatically, and I can find those charts. I didn't. Again, it's very hard. That's part of the problem. We need to have better data, and we need it more transparent and easily accessed. But their cases have run up dramatically as their testing did. So I'm not sure that you can say cases are going up there in the population. They just might be getting to more of the population. Whereas I think it's different in California and New York, and California and Arizona. I think that we actually are seeing outbreaks again. But again, I can't be positive. Why can't I be positive? Because I don't know if they're retesting the same people over and over. Like, they're going to the doctors every day or every other day. They're getting a new test. Boom. Is that being included in the data? I don't know. Antibody tests. We know the CDC was putting the antibody test together with the new tests just a few weeks ago. They admitted to it. I haven't seen anything about it being changed. So I don't trust that data. I'd like them to make me trust the data. That's all. I believe if they're trying to do a good job and they say, hey, this was a mistake. We fixed it. We've broken it out. Now you can see it. That's all I want. I'm not thinking they're whatever. Okay, but this is the amazing number. One, I want you to know that Anders Tegnell and another, I can find it by clicking on it. So you don't have to believe me. I'll click on this thing in a second. This is the country that the massive amount of the media was telling us we can't follow their open model. They're going to die. They're all going to die. It's a disaster. They're playing with people's lives. Cases are going to explode. They're going to be decimated. They're absolutely moron. I mean, the worst stuff from experts all over the world destroying these people less than 2 or 3 weeks ago. Just 2 or 3 weeks ago, because of this move, they were saying deaths are exploding in Sweden, and they've gone to they're the worst country in the world. There was all sorts of I talk to people every day. I know every single person following this believed the media when they told them that Sweden was a disaster, not the model not to be followed. Now, you can see that this data is being reported in many different sites. They were just giving you snapshots of this and this in the newspapers. Whereas if you follow the trend, it's been down. Like, it can't go any lower. Now, over time, some more deaths. It takes a while to report. Some places takes a week or two, and they add to the data. But really, so if we go back, say, 2 weeks, this is the trend down. Right? Now, how could that be happening? How can you reconcile that? And I'm not giving you the answer, but how can we reconcile a society that practices some social distancing, but allows people to go out and be in bars and talk, and there's pictures of people without masks on? How can we reconcile that with the predictions about their imminent destruction and demise because they were not locked down? Now, when they went to the articles that tried to be fair and cover both sides, and I can go back and document if this is an interesting topic for people, they were saying, hey, you can't even compare our results until those other economies open up and their people get exposed again. Right now, they're hiding from the virus. They're being shut down. What is it going to look like when they come back out? Well, as of now, and we're going to go to California in a second, can we really say that the shutdown of low-risk groups is really the way to go? Now, I'm going to suggest to you that a guy named DePrado, one of the best financial modelers in the history, apparently he's responsible for like billions or trillions of dollars, just crazy amounts of money being taken out of the stock market because it's financially modeling and is that good, suggested to governments around the world back in mid-April. I posted it in my Facebook column. It's probably if you're seeing my Facebook timeline, you'll probably see it. He suggested that after a few weeks shutdown, so hospitals, he didn't necessarily say it, so hospitals could get the PPE, their equipment, so they could get their people protected, so they could basically get their procedures, and so that we can make an assessment of how bad the virus was. A shutdown for a few weeks could be called for, but after that, the higher risk group should be protected. The lowest risk group, if you don't have a virus, if you don't have a vaccine in the future, the low risk group needs to be out and about. And who the lowest group would depend on the virus, but you can't shut down everybody. And his concept, and it's a model, it's an idea, that when you allow the low risk group out, if they're not dying, if they're not crowding up the ICUs, the damage being done to the low risk group, and because they're obviously carrying some infection in the old risk group, may be lower than the overall damage the shutdown is doing. People are going to die. There's going to be suicides. There's going to be rehab, relapses in drugs. There's going to be all sorts of problems. People aren't going to get their checkups. I mean, we had months, doctors telling us for months, people weren't going in for their checkups. I know 2 different people, one with a shoulder that was supposed to be operated on, one with a knee. They were walking around in pain for months. Who knows if they've aggravated things more? I mean, we can all know people like that. So at some point, it's not selfish of anybody to say, what is the low risk group being shut down accomplishing on a relative basis? It might be doing more harm than good. And we need models that consider all that. We can't just have their Fauci telling us, because he changed his mind. At first he's like, shut down forever. Oh, the shutdown goes on too long and do massive damage. Well, we needed that information from the beginning. He knows. And I'm going to tell you what I'll just share. I've already been rambling. The better model is to understand that, like SARS, like the Google scientists said, like some of the top scientists in the world have papers, the better way to analyze this is with a cluster and super spreader model. Now, the data's still new, but the data I'm seeing is that the doctors are still, one of the reports called them super emitters now, but they're saying this is still being spread with super emitters who are expelling a heavy viral load. And you can't really look at them ahead of time. In this article, I said there was a little woman or girl who was a super emitter, and he says a big, strong guy, and he was sick, and he didn't spread it at all. So we don't know who they are ahead of time. They might be people whose immune systems will be compromised or are compromised. But 80% or more of this virus is being spread by very few people, whereas most people spread it to one person or less. So if that's the model, the way to shut this virus down is by having competent governments with the ability to test and trace and get to that cluster and super spreader immediately. If there's a cluster breaking out, find that super spreader, lock them down. Now, it might not be like 3 people in a restaurant getting a virus. That might not be a cluster, but 20, 30 people getting sick, find that super emitter, whether they're in the hospital or they're at an indoor concert or something. Find that super spreader, shut it down. That's how these models and mathematical models, that's how these experts say it's really shut down. Why are our experts not talking about that? And now here's the daily deaths in Sweden. Absolutely amazing. They're down to last few days, 2 to 3 people a day being admitted to their ICU, and they've had a non-lockdown society. I don't even know how this happens, because right now we don't know that antibodies are going to protect us for more than 2 or 3 months. We do know there's supposedly a preprint coming out that 2 to 8% of the people who get COVID and clear it don't even develop antibodies. They do it through T cells. So we don't really even know how to test. We don't really know what's going on, because this data makes no sense given everything else the experts are telling us. The real experts, the clusters and super spreader guys, they're not really getting quoted in the paper very often. They're not being to the fore, and those are the experts we need to be hearing from right? This data and what we're being told does not work together. I don't know if it's oxymoronic. That might be the wrong use of the word. This does not follow from what we're being told. Now, let me go back. We'll go to the United States. So here's the daily death in the United States. I wonder if there's even a statistical difference between this trend. Here, we'll go 7-day trends, right? Again, I'm not big on these 7-day trends. I think it's still a little too short. But we'll go 7-day trends. And we're going to see that it's down. Sweden, probably because most of this data comes out of Stockholm, it's probably a smoother trend. I can answer this. This trend is probably due to periodicity or the cycle in the data, in that people either don't see the doctors or don't report on the weekends, and then it goes up. It gets aggregated to Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, and then boom. So really, I think that we would do. I think if we just had a longer one, we'd see the same sort of trend. That was 3-day moving average. My fault, perhaps. Yeah. So it was the smoothness. Looks very similar. Let me turn that off. Okay, so now let's go to California, and I want to talk about California because California is impacting all of us. In California, it impacts me, right? Gavin Newsom was threatening to shut down again, and I think as I'm perfectly fine blaming Trump for not getting in front of this, the data, the testing, the super spreading, transparency. I want to get on top of Gavin Newsom right now. I don't know what the hell's wrong with this guy, right? He seems smart enough. He understands, or he has people that understand what's going on. He's got Silicon Valley all around him. He can be educated if he doesn't get it by the Google guys and just all the smart tech guys that I'm sure he's connected to through his mother-in-law, and just because he's in the power, he's a powerful dude in California. The money guys in Silicon Valley must have his ear. Okay, so what's going on here? We had early and heavy lockdown, right? This universally praised. California got it. We drove everything down. We locked down early. That's why we've had so much success. And in 2 or 3 weeks of rioting, going to the beach and restaurants, our cases are exploding on deaths, on active cases. Well, that's cumulative. Daily new cases. What? How? Why is this happening? You're going to blame a few rioters? You're going to blame people from going to the beach? You're going to blame a few restaurants? This is pure 100% super obvious to anyone who's thinking that the shutdown model we followed was stupid, right? It didn't work. We shut down hard. We shut down early. Now, if you want to make a virus go away, you have to shut down completely. You'd have to probably shut down the essential workers. You'd have to just go hide for, 21 days until it clears everybody or they're dead. And then the virus might go away if you 100% shut down the borders. That was never going to happen in America. If you look at the charts on the San Diego Union Tribune, I wonder if I have that now. Yeah, I do. Let's just go to the San Diego Union Tribune. Now, this is COVID deaths. Now, if you follow the news, a lot of people are coming over the border from Mexico with COVID. I just saw the article. Now, in the article, they said, but a lot of these people are Americans just coming back. It's probably true. But we have people coming over the border with COVID in the United States, right? And obviously spreading it through the community close to the border. Now, if Gavin Newsom was one bit freaking serious about keeping us healthy, as opposed to, I don't know what he's considering, he'd be working with Trump and everybody else to stop this. COVID people coming over the border instantly treated. We wouldn't be having these breakouts. What, North County safe? East and South County are not? This is crazy, right? This is absolutely lacking in a comprehensive approach and sharing it with us. Maybe they're doing it behind the scenes. They're not sharing it with us. We don't know anything. This is crazy. Now, the data. I need this guy, like in the beginning when Cuomo was doing it, to get on television, to get it out in the papers, to get it in social media, that when we're seeing all these new tests, daily new cases, Are this really new cases, or is this positive? Is this positive tests? Like, I don't know. Again, let's go back to San Diego, because at least, to me, at least this data has been pretty useful. New cases by the day. Again, daily testing. We're having a lot of testing. 14-day average of positive tests. Now, I thought this data would be very useful in telling us if we're breaking out. I think from this data, we can assume we're breaking out. So the model totally failed of shutdown. But is it possible that this is also antibody tests being included the way they were in the CDC data a few weeks ago? Is it possible that every positive test, like for people going to see the doctor every day, they're getting the test every day to see if they're clearing? Are those tests all being included? Or is this just each person who tests once, positive once, is included in this data as I would be doing it? We don't know, right? Why don't we know? Why are we not having our leadership telling us, giving us totally transparent data every day and telling us these things? Now, you might be able to find, like, for instance, you might be able to, if you really dug deep, like I spent a few hours over the weekend and I found pretty good data, excess death data, which is something we should be talking about. How many people are dying over the expected average? I think you can say that's the damage being done on average by COVID. That's not being shared. Sweden is back down to zero. They're getting the same amount of deaths as normal right now as it can be expected from average. Now, to me, that makes sense. They unfortunately, like in New York and a lot of places in California, a lot of states, a lot of old people died early, but they have multiple comorbidities. And you would expect that, statistically speaking, like if you were an insurance guy making projections, you're like, well, people with comorbidities who are 78 years old are probably going to die at the same rates. And look, my mom's in an old folks home. It's her birthday soon. I can't see her. I understand the problems. I'm trying to discuss this as a statistician now. Sweden's brought their deaths back down. We're exploding. We had a shutdown. They didn't. Our model's terrible. We're going up and down. Fauci was warning about second waves. Whether you want to call this a second wave or a continuation of the first doesn't matter. Our model in America is terrible. Whether it's Trump's fault or Newsom's fault, I think it's everyone's fault. These guys aren't getting great data. They're not testing and tracking. They're not dealing with this virus properly. So as a result, I don't even know if I want to invest in my real estate business in the future. I don't even know what the future is for other people that ask me questions sometimes about whether they should file bankruptcy or whatever. I can't advise people. Businesses can't make decisions. I don't even want my kids to have to go to school wearing a mask in the fall. Yesterday, I was happy because I saw all the kids at a school in the backyard without masks on, and people were there. I talked to people at soccer last night while wearing my mask, and they said, well, they've already sent an email about that, and maybe there will be masks in the fall. I don't even know if masks are good for little kids, right? I certainly know dirty masks aren't. I think dirty masks make you sick. I think I made myself sick with a dirty mask a few days ago. I think these masks need to be, if we're going to make our kids wear masks at school, I think we have to have a mask every 15 minutes to change, every 30 minutes to change. Are we going to be providing that? Otherwise, to me, and I know this is probably going to sound terrible to some people, but to me, the kids' lives are the ones who need to be protected. And until you can tell me that those masks aren't hurting them, I know from this data, it's here. Here it is. I know that 19 and under in San Diego, nobody's died. 0 people. Right? Under 30, I guess under 29, it looks like 2. Under 40, it's 3. We know that one of the councilmen said about 3 weeks ago there were only 6 pure COVID deaths in San Diego. So, given this data, given this, given this, What are we doing? We're going to put masks on kids where many doctors, not all, I know the data's going back and forth, but the WHO for a while was telling us that masks don't do any good. It's the social distancing that works. That second part, you can read between the lines. Other countries in Europe saying masks don't do any good. Why are we making kids wear masks when doing nothing has gotten us to here, and following the model that California has presented to us is getting us to here, right? I don't know. I mean, they tell us that maybe antibodies only stick around for 2 or 3 months. They tell us some people don't even get antibodies after they clear the virus, but they protect themselves with T cells. Their T cells or other mechanisms in their immune system shut down the virus. I don't think we know what's going on, but when you look at this, and you look at this, who's got the better model? I'm going to suggest every day until they give us data otherwise that there's no science and there's no data saying that the low risk should be locked down. There's no data even that says little kids should be wearing masks. And if they want me and you to feel comfortable that their children should be wearing masks all day, one, we should have science and data saying the masks are good and the masks are clean. That is what that's what we need our leadership to be able to tell us with science and data. Kids can wear masks and they're going to be clean. They're going to be fresh. They're going to be given to them multiple times per day, maybe 3 times an hour. Right? That's science and data. I think we can't be doing, George Bush Sr. once called it voodoo economics, or when Reagan said if we lower taxes, we can have an economic boom, and it worked. Well, I don't know what's going on with the voodoo health, but our voodoo health is doing this, and an approach that said, I'm not so sure we have any data showing that a shutdown of the lowest group works, did this. This is our model. This is their model. My model is, let's consider their model, but have a quality government working with testing, tracing, and I'm going to say this. I am absolutely libertarian at heart, and I don't think government should be interfering in our lives. But in a health crisis, I think it would be fine that if people want to go to restaurants, that the requirement for them to go in the restaurants is they download an app that I don't know that we can trust Google, but like the Google app, to go in. That's like, one, it tells them when their table's ready, and two, it keeps track of them for 14 days or however long, maybe it's 21 days, so that if that restaurant has 3 or 4 or whatever the number is, COVID tests positive, that the app instantly says, maybe not during work hours, or they get a signal, hey, do you have symptoms? If you have symptoms, come in for a free test. We want to track the super spreader. Whatever, it might be 8 people, whatever the number is. But I think we could get back to normal if we can trace the clusters and we can go after the super spreaders. All of the fearful people, and I'm fearful. I thought I caught COVID a few days ago. I realized I think it was my mask. But I feel 100% today, and I don't think I could have cleared it in 24 hours. I hope I did, actually, and now I have antibodies. But I'm not saying we should be fearful. But right now, our government sucks so bad that the fearful people can be fearful, and the people who don't trust them can be not trusting them. Because the data's not there. It's not transparent. We have terrible leadership. Absolutely terrible, horrendous leadership at statewide levels and federal government levels. The CDC is, how could scientists be that bad that they mixed antibody testing and positive tests? That's so bad, it almost, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist because I just want to deal with facts, but I don't believe smart people like that, even like in those movies in The Contagion, they have smart people, right? Maybe not everyone's brilliant there, but they have smart people. Someone must have said, hey, we can't be mixing antibody tests and positive tests, and someone must have said, shut up. You can't bring that up now. I mean, We know many academics and scientists and researchers have intellectual integrity. It's very important to them. So someone told them to shut up. We need to get to the bottom of that, because they can't. If it was truly a mistake, it would have been fixed already, and it would have been, don't worry, it's assured this data is good. I haven't seen that. I looked for it. I did a Google search. Maybe Google's hiding it. I don't think so on this one. So anyway, that is my my rant for the day. We're going to get it every day. We're going to be updating new countries, new data. I'm going to be focusing on excess deaths now. I think the data is getting more useful. Before I didn't bring it up. But as a comparison, this is Sweden. This is Newsom. Right? I'm not blaming the rioters. I'm not blaming the people going to the restaurants. I'm not blaming the people who go to the beach. I'm in the last two categories. I am blaming lack of transparency in the data for fear. And I think we might be breaking out again. I think Sweden's warnings, and wait till these people come out of shutdown and then compare. I think the Swedish model is being proven that California, who was once cited as the great shutdown model, they did it early, they did it fast, that's why it's such good results. I mean, those results have been blown in a few weeks with some rioting, going to the beach and going to restaurants? No, absolutely not. The shutdown could never make the virus go away. You can't hide from this virus. You either have to, you could hide until a vaccine, but I don't think we can do that. I think California will run out of money. I think our people aren't going to be put up with it. I don't think it's morally fair to this age group, under 40s. I don't think it's morally fair to do this to them, right? We need a more well-designed program to protect us without screwing their lives and their futures. Do we have to isolate? Maybe. Do we have to make sure that when our kids come home and visit us or our parents, that they take showers, go to the laundry room, take off their clothes, switch into something that's clean, jump in the shower, switch into a third thing? Maybe. I know some people with immune-compromised kids. My wife does. She's told me about it. They stayed outside the home at first for a few months. That's extreme. But this calls for intelligent measures. I can't visit my mom in the nursing home. We're not having almost every year we have a family reunion. We can't have it. I understand it. It's wise. I'm on board with it. I believe in it because I know this thing preys upon old people. Let's go over that again. Let's go over the age thing. I was just there. All right. Look at this. And the comorbidities I also show that as you have more morbidities, you're more likely to die. So this is, the only stat at first I couldn't figure out was, why is it going after females more in the 90-year-old? But then I thought back, I think they tell us that women have a much longer expected lifespan, as most of the people, when I was able to visit my mom in the old folks' home, were women. So I think women of that generation were outlasting the men. So, of course, more than 90-year-olds who die are going to be women, I suspect. But here we see, this is the way it is. The median age is 76 to 78 in the United States. This chart's no different in San Diego. I'm sure, except for maybe clusters in New York and maybe LA or San Francisco, it's been following a similar pattern in a lot of places. I personally have heard of friends who went to school with people where some kids have died, but I still know that it's rare. I mean, we've seen the national stats. So the next time, this is really the final thought. I don't want anyone to be called selfish until they actually express selfishness. Because my view is that I'm going to get sun. I'm going to take vitamin C's. I popped a whole bunch yesterday and today. I was taking a little bit. I'm going to get sun. I've lost a bunch of weight. I gained a little bit back eating carbs. I'm going low carb again. I'm going to get in the best shape. I'm going to eat well. I'm going to keep my immune system up because it's not just important for me. It's important for me that I don't spread it and become a super spreader. To me, that's the best thing most of us can do. But I don't think it's fair to the people under 40 that we destroy their economic future, that we put ourselves in so much debt that we're either going to have massive inflation and lots of taxes or a subpar economy. I don't think it's fair to them. I really want us to think long term. Yes, we should isolate ourselves and our parents, and we can't. But we don't have to expect them to have their lives destroyed. I think that you can't say that those who want to go out and live life are being selfish just because they don't want to do what you want them to do. I think you can look at it from two ways. So I'm not going to get into the morality. I realize that I don't even like doing that. I'm not going to get into the morality of this. I'm going to just call out our politicians. All right. So anyway, thanks. The takeaway: California's model sucks. Here's the data. It might be getting worse. We come out of shutdown and this happens. Come on. The shutdown was never designed to succeed. It was only designed to change the curves, to open up the hospital beds. And after that, the shutdown sucked. It was terrible. It was damaging and achieved nothing, right? Because this is what's happening. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. Right? Shutdown failed. We have to. You have to. That's what I'm trying to say. If you see this, limited shutdown, old folks home shutdown, society open, and you compare it to this, and they warned us. When you can't compare what's happening in here with what's happening in shutdown places, because they're going to come out and experience this again. When you see that and you see this on a surface, you'd either have to say, our model failed, or let's dig at it, change stuff, and make the model better. I'm suggesting to everyone that the shutdown of the low-risk group, when you weigh the life savings, the emotional savings, the financial toll, the critical condition we're putting California's even state finances in, that shutdown didn't work. It didn't save us. We're exploding again. It was stupid. It was clearly stupid. It was obviously stupid to those who wanted to look at it, because Fauci was always warning about the second wave. We were not hiding from the virus. We were just putting off infections. So, how do we save it? Well, I can handle lockdown in limited amounts if we actually have a program and data designed to make it work. It has to be the ability to test and trace symptomatic people, particularly in clusters, and shut them down in and out to help people trace when we're open. And it needs to be put in place right away. I'm threatening shutdown again. What's it going to do? Open up in the fall and explode again. There's no hope that we can hide from this virus and make it go away right now. The virus is going to have to burn out on its own, or we're going to need a vaccine. Shutdown did nothing. Thank you. John McConnin. That's it. I'm going to do this every day, though, because we need a change. We need a better model. Thanks.